see you there. I'm so glad you're here. Let me tell you a story. A Christmas story. A story of Christmas cheer and good tidings that almost never was. Tonight, let us share the tale, How the Grinch Stole the Vapor's Christmas, by Basilray. Every vapor down in Vapeville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Vapeville, did not. The Grinch hated vaping in the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his lungs were clamped up too tight. It could be perhaps that his pipe wouldn't light. But I think that the most likely reason of all could have been that he couldn't quit smoking at all. But, whatever the reason, his lungs or his pipe, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the vapors, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown as the warm-lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every vapor down in Vapeville beneath was now busy enjoying smoke-free relief. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, why it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers, nervously drumming. I must find a way to keep the vapors' Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew all the vape girls and boys would wake up bright and early and they'd rush for their toys. And then, the vapor, vapor. That's the one thing he hated, the vapor. Then the vapors young and old would sit down for a vape meet, and they'd meet and they'd greet, and they'd meet, greet. They would start on Miss T's chocolate pudding and on to cherry cola slushy, which is one thing that the Grinch couldn't stand, no siree. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every vapor down in Vapeville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing, and they'd stand hand in hand, and the vapors would start singing. And they'd sing of relief, and they'd sing of the beauties of no more long sting, and the Grinch thought of this vapor Christmas sing. The more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 35 years I've smoked these Pall Malls. I must stop the vapors' Christmas from coming, once and for all. Then he got an idea, an awful idea. Why, the Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch coughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he coughed and he wheezed. What a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like St. Nick. All I need is a reindeer. And the Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there were none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No! The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his horse named Marlboro, and he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some empty old sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Marb, and the Grinch said, giddy up, and the sleigh started down towards the home where the vapors lay a snooze in their town. And their windows were dark, odorless mist filled the air. All the vapors were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first house in the square, this is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, and boy were his lungs pissed. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two, then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where all the little vapor stockings hung all in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk, with a smile most unpleasant, around the whole room, and he took every present. Miss T's bottle buddies and GLV2s, atomizers, chargers, and batteries too. And he stuffed them in bags, and the Grinch very nimbly stuffed the bags one by one up the chimney. And he slunk to the vapor's tackle box, and he took all the batteries. He took the chocolate pudding. He took the cherry cola slushy. He cleaned out that box as quick as a flash. Why, the Grinch even took the last bottle from that poor vapor's stash. And he he stuffed all the e-cigs up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I'll stuff up the tree." And when the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove, he turned around fast and saw a reviewer. He saw Basilray, who'd been reading ECF on his computer. And the Grinch had been caught by this ECF vapor, who'd been up late and witnessed this caper. He stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas vapes and Miss T's apple pie?" But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie and he coughed it up quick. "Why, my young friend," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this 510 that won't light up on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, have no fear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." His fib fooled Basilray. The Grinch patted his head. He offered Basil a cigarette before he went to bed. Basil declined and went to bed straight away. The Grinch went up the chimney and stuffed everything up and away. Then the last thing he did was light a smoke from the fire, and he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and nichrome wire, and the one blank cart that he left in the house was a cart too small for the PV of a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other vapors' houses, leaving only blank carts much too small for the other vapors' mouses. It was 1:15 dawn, all the vapors still in bed, all the vapors still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their wrappings, the supplies and the ribbons, the carts and the bats and their vaping contraptions. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode up to the very tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the vapors! He was Grinchishly humming. "They're finding out now that no Christmas and no vaping is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then all the vapors down in Vapeville will all cry boo-hoo. They'll run straight away to the nearest gas station and puff on Camels to ease their frustration. That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put a hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Vapeville. The Grinch popped his eyes, and he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every vapor down in Vapeville, the tall and the small, was singing without any PVs or juices at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. Along with the Christmas and joy of the vapors, the Grinch couldn't believe they hadn't rolled their own cigs using zigzag papers. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puffing on a wrinkled Marlboro. It came without ribbons, it came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas and vaping, he thought, don't come from an internet store. Maybe Christmas and vaping means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Vapeville they say that the Grinch's black lungs became much cleaner that day. The minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the juices so sweet. And they say he himself, the Grinch, puffed Miss T's very first tasty treat. So you see, children, nothing could stop Christmas from coming for a vapor. Not even the Grinch could stop them that day. And frankly, neither will the FDA.
You're a mean one,
Merry Christmas
Mr. Grinch.
from yours truly,
You
Basilray.
really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. You're a bad banana with a greasy black peel.